Some of the biggest companies in history didn't fail because of bad luck. They failed because of one decision. Let's start with Schlitz beer. In 1976, Schlitz was the second largest brewer in America. But behind the scenes, executives made a quiet change to the recipe to cut costs. They replaced traditional ingredients with cheaper alternatives and added chemical stabilizers to speed up production. At first, nothing seemed wrong. But loyal customers noticed quickly. The taste felt thinner, the foam weaker, and some even said it had a strange metallic aftertaste. In bars across Milwaukee, people joked it tasted like soap. Sales began to fall. Competitors mocked the brand. And instead of fixing the problem, Schlitz doubled down, making even more changes that only made things worse. Within a few years, the company collapsed from a top position to near irrelevance, all because of a shortcut. Now let's talk about one of the worst business deals ever: Quaker Oats buying Snapple. In 1994, Quaker paid $1.7 billion for Snapple, believing they could turn it into the next Gatorade. But they misunderstood what made Snapple special. The brand had grown through small distributors, local stores, and quirky marketing. Quaker tried to force it into a corporate system built for supermarkets. Distribution slowed, products disappeared from shelves. Meanwhile, rivals like Coca-Cola and Pepsi launched competing drinks. Just 3 years later, Quaker sold Snapple for only $300 million, losing over $1 billion. In 1962, a small band walked into a London studio hoping for a record deal. That band was the Beatles. They auditioned for Decca Records and got rejected. An executive famously said, "Guitar groups are on the way out." Instead, the label signed another band. Months later, the Beatles found a new opportunity and went on to become the biggest music phenomenon in history. Decca's decision? It became one of the most famous mistakes ever made in entertainment. Then came the moment Coca-Cola changed its formula. In 1985, the company launched New Coke, a sweeter version designed to beat Pepsi in taste tests. And technically, it worked. But consumers didn't care about tests, they cared about tradition. People protested, they called, wrote letters, and even stockpiled the original formula. The backlash was so intense that Coca-Cola brought back the original recipe just 79 days later, rebranded as Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke didn't just fail, it became a symbol of how not to mess with a beloved brand. Now a classic tech battle: Sony's Betamax versus JVC's VHS. Sony's Betamax had better video quality. But there was one problem: recording time. VHS tapes could store full movies, while Betamax couldn't. On top of that, JVC licensed VHS widely, allowing many companies to produce players, making it cheaper and more accessible. Consumers chose convenience over quality. By the mid-1980s, VHS dominated the market, and Betamax slowly disappeared. Next, BlackBerry. In the early 2000s, BlackBerry ruled the business world. Their phones were everywhere, especially among executives. Then, in 2007, iPhone arrived. BlackBerry didn't take it seriously. They believed physical keyboards were essential and touchscreen phones were just a trend. They were wrong. As apps, touchscreens, and mobile ecosystems exploded, BlackBerry failed to adapt. Within a few years, their market share collapsed from dominance to almost nothing. Around the same time, Microsoft made a similar mistake. When the iPhone launched, CEO Steve Ballmer laughed at it, calling it overpriced and impractical. At the time, Microsoft controlled the mobile OS market. But they reacted too slowly. By the time Windows Phone arrived, it was already too late. Developers ignored it, users moved on, and the platform died. Now, imagine this. What if Yahoo had bought Google? In 1998, Google's founders offered to sell their company to Yahoo for just $1 million. Yahoo said no. Even in 2002, when the price rose to $3 billion, they still refused. Today, Google is worth over $1 trillion, while Yahoo was eventually sold for a fraction of that. One decision changed the entire internet. And then there's Nokia. In 2007, Nokia controlled around 40% of the global mobile market. But they failed to evolve. Their software lagged behind, developers avoided their platform, and competitors surged ahead. A risky partnership with Microsoft didn't save them. Within years, Nokia's dominance collapsed completely. Finally, one of the most famous what-ifs in business history. Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix in 2000 for just $50 million. They refused. At the time, Blockbuster ruled home entertainment with thousands of stores. But as streaming emerged, Netflix adapted, and Blockbuster didn't. By 2010, Blockbuster was bankrupt. Netflix? One of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world. All these stories prove one thing. Big companies don't always lose because they're weak. Sometimes they lose because they think they're unbeatable. And by the time they realize they're wrong, it's already too late.